Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and in this video we are going to create some simple block cards. So these are the cards we are going to create. So it got some image and some text and also a author name and also a button with some hover effect. Also these cards are completely responsive, so if we just make the window size smaller, it is going to be aligned in different row. So it is totally responsive for any device sizes. And this is actually my code pen, and if you want this link, I will add the link in the description below, so you can go here and check this out. You can also see the codes from directly here. So these are the HTML and CSS. So without any further ado, let's get started. At first I'm going to create the markup for the cards, and actually this is our index.html and I have already added some font here. So we are going to use two fonts. The first one is Meriwether, only the bold or the black, the font rate of 900, and the secondary font will be Poppins. Italic and normal will be 300 and 400 500. Okay, so if you want to add this, you can go to the fonts.google.com and search for Meriwether and Poppins, and you can add the link here. So let's add our container div at first, and inside this container I'm just going to create another div with the class of grid, and it will help us to align the cards inside the container. And inside it, let's create a div with the class of card. So this div will contain the uh, total card elements. So at first we need to add an image, so I'm just going to create a div with the class of card image, and inside it let's add an image here. So I'm just going to use an image from the Unsplash. So I got the URL and going to paste it here. So if you go to the unsplash.com, and if you get any of the images, if you just click here and then right click and copy the image address, you can just got the URL from there. So this is the image, and now let's create another div with the class of card body. Inside this card body, let's use an h2 with the class of card title. So this is going to be the card title. Let's put some dummy text here. Okay, this is our title, and let's use another paragraph tag, and I'm just going to put some dummy lorem ipsum text. I'm just going to copy it and paste it here. So this is the card text, and after that we need to use the author. We need to put the author name. So let's use an paragraph tag here with the class of card author. Inside this, the first will be by, and we can use an anchor tag. Let's give this a class of author link maybe. Okay, so I'm just going to put a hash to make it blank, and I'm just going to put my name here. Okay, after that let's use an anchor tag with the class of read more, and the text will be that will be hash, and the text will be read article. So this is our single card here, and this is how it looks without any stylings. So I'm just going to make some copy because we need total of 3 cards. So let's paste it here and here. So now I'm just going to pause the video and change the link of the image and some text here. Okay, so I have changed the title and 2 other images, and now it looks like this. Now let's move on to the style.css and do some stylings. So in the style.css, I'm just going to remove any default margin and padding from here. So let's make the margin 0, padding 0, and box sizing border box. After that, let's target the body, and we want to make the background color. I've got a hexagonal color code here. It is F3, F5 and F7. This actually kind of grayish color. So after that we are going to make the font family for the entire body will be the Poppins. That will be the uppercase, so Poppins, and the fallback font will be sans serif. So let's give this a minimum height of 100 viewport height, so it will take the height of the total viewport. Let's make the display of flex to make the contents in the center. After that, let's make the justify content center, also the align items center. So this is it, this is for the body. Now let's move on to the container, and we want to add some max height with the container. Actually it is better to use some pixels like 1024 or 960 pixels, but if you are creating a complete website then you need to use the pixels value. But in here we are not create any website, so I'm just going to put it like a percentage value. So let's say maximum height will be 70%, and to make the contents inside its center we can use the margin of 0 auto. Now it should be center. Let's save, and now they are at the center and it got the maximum height of 70%. Let's give this a height. We actually don't need it now, but it will need it later. So let's give the height on 100%, and now let's target the grid here. So this div, so I'm just going to make it a display of grid, and we actually need to divide the columns. So we want 3 items in a single row, so we can divide the entire row into 3 fractions. So the property name will be grid template columns, and we can use on fr, on fraction, and on fraction, so that makes this 3 fraction. And now it is going to have 3 fraction, but they are taking so much height that it got a horizontal scroll bar, but it is going to go away. So after that, let's target the card here, and inside the card let's make the overflow hidden. Let's save, and now it is inside this void, or inside this on fraction. Now in order to create some gap within this, we can use the gap property for grid column. So let's use 3%. We can use pixels, rem, em, anything you want. Now it got this 3% gap. Now for the card, we want to give this a padding and also a background color. So let's give this a padding of 20 pixels. The background color will be totally white, so FFF. Now let's also give this a border radius of maybe 30 pixels. The text will be aligned in the center. Let's save, and now it looks like this. So I'm just going to make it smaller. So this is our card, and now we are going to target the card image. So it got the class name of card image, and we need to target the image here. Let's make the height to 100%. Let's save. Now the image, the 100% of the image will be fit into the container. We also need to give this a height of auto, and also some text align, border radius. So we have given this the border radius of 30 pixels, but we can actually use 20 pixels here, so it will be a little bit smaller, and it looks like this way. Now after styling the image, we can go to the card body. So card body is this total thing here, so we can add some padding all around it, but the padding all around it will be different. So let's say we want same amount of padding in the left and right, but we don't want same amount of padding at the top and bottom. So let's add a padding here. So it actually goes clockwise, so it starts from the top. So the first value we put here will be added at the top. So let's use 26 pixels padding for the top, 20 pixels padding for the left, because that goes clockwise. First value top, second value will be the padding right, then comes the padding bottom. So for the padding bottom, let's use 36 pixels, and for the padding left, again 20 pixels, and it looks like this. So now let's target the card title here. So let's target card title and the font family. I'm just going to copy the name here. So it will be the Meriwether, and it got the fallback value of serif because this is the serif font. Now let's make the font weight to 600 because 900, because we only imported the 900 font weight. So we can also make the text transform to capitalize. So each of the first character of each line is odd will be capital. And let's say we want the font size to 26 pixels, and let's also add a padding at the bottom. I'm going to add 20 pixels padding bottom. Now it got some gap with that body text and this text. Now let's target the paragraph tag here. It contains all these things except this one because this is anchor tag. So let's target the card body and paragraph tag. Let's make the font weight to 400, and also we want the font size to be a little bit smaller, let's say 18 pixels. And we can also add a line height of 1.7. So now it looks great. Now let's target the author. So it is actually a paragraph tag with the class of card underscore author. So let's make the font size smaller, 15 pixels. That will be smaller than this one which got the 18 pixels. Also we can add some padding at the top to create some gap with the text here. So I'm just going to add 15 pixels padding top. It got the 15 pixels. And for this anchor tag we want to make this italic. So let's target the paragraph tag with the class of card author and then the anchor tag. Let's make the font style, not size. Font style will be italic, let's say. And actually I want to change the color here, so I got a hexagonal color code for that. So let's make the color this one. We can also add a hover effect on that. So on hover I just want to change the font weight a little bit, so it will be a bold, and I'm going to delete this and add a hover. So on hover let's make the font weight bold. Let's save, and it looks fine. Now let's target this button here. It is actually anchor tag, but we are going to make it look like a button. So it is actually this anchor tag with the class of read more. So let's target anchor tag with the class of read more. So let's give this a background color of, I have got a hexagonal color for that too, so it will be 0f on 6 on 6. Hope I got the color right, and this is it. So as the background color is dark now, so we need to change the color of the text to white. Now it is visible. The text decoration will be none, so I'm just going to make it text decoration none. It will remove the underline. And also let's make the font size to 13 pixels, so it will be smaller. We can also add a letter spacing a little bit, so maybe 1.1 pixels. Now we want to add some padding because there is no padding with it, so the black is looking really ugly. So at the top and bottom or around the x-axis, let's add a padding of 24 pixels, and we actually don't need any padding at the left and right because we are going to give this a height. So let's give this height of 70%, so it will be taking 70% height of this total height. So in order to make this work, as the anchor tag is an inline element, we need to make the display inline block. Now it should work. Okay, it is working just fine. So let's add some margin at the top to create some gap with the author link. Margin top, let's say 50 pixels, and it looks fine. So let's also add some border radius. I'm just going to add 15 pixels border radius, and it looks like this. Now let's add a hover effect on it. So a read more and hover. So when I hover on that, I want to change the background color a little bit. So I'm just going to use an hexagonal color code of 404040. Let's save. It is kind of lighter. And I also want to add a box shadow. So I'm just going to put the value here. Box shadow, sorry, not box sizing, it will be shadow. Now it looks like this. So I'm just going to add some transition with it. Transition all, let's give it a value of 0.3 second, is in out. Let's save. Now it looks fine. So I think this is everything we want to do here, but this is not totally responsive and it looks really ugly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to inspect it and see through all the breakpoints. So the first breakpoint we want to work on is maybe this one. So 1440 pixels. So in 1440 pixels, we this text is looking kind of bigger. So and this padding is too much for this height. So I'm just going to target 1440 pixels. It will be actually 1440 pixels. So when the display size or the display height will be smaller than 1440 pixels, it will be applied. So let's add some media query here. Media only screen, and we need to select the maximum height. Max height will be 1440 pixels, and when it will be smaller than 1440 pixels, let's start with the container. We got the maximum height of 90%. I think 90. I'm not sure. It is 70%. So for the smaller size than this 1440 pixels, I want to make the container a maximum height of 80%. So it will be bigger than that. So I'm just going to make it smaller than 1440. Okay, now it looks fine. Now let's target the grid. I think the gap is too much for this height, so let's make it. Let's make the gap 2%, which was previously 3%. Now the gap is okay. Let's target the card here. It got some pretty much very big padding. So I'm just going to make the padding to 15 pixels. Now it should be reduced. Also, let's target the card body here and reduce the padding to 15 pixels again. Let's target the card body, sorry, card title. We already targeted the card body. Let's make the font size a little bit smaller. So let's try 22 pixels. Let's save, and it looks fine. So we can also reduce the padding at the bottom a little bit. So I'm just going to put 14 pixels here. Now let's target the card body and the paragraph tag for this text, the normal text here. So let's make the font size to 16 pixels, which was previously 18 pixels. Also let's target the read more button here, this one. So it got an anchor tag with the class of read more. Let's reduce the padding a little bit. Let's make it 19 pixels and 0 and void. I think I got the void here. Okay, the void is 70%. I'm just going to make it 16%. Also let's reduce the font size a little bit to 11 pixels. Let's save. Okay, it's fine, but the margin at the top is little bit too much. So I'm just going to make it 30 pixels here. And it looks like fine for this viewport. And for the next viewport, which is 1024 pixels, it looks kind of congested. So from this viewport, we can actually break down the grid. Then it will be applied in the vertical direction. So all this item will be aligned after each other in the vertical direction. So let's do it, and this breakpoint will be 1024 pixels. So let's do another media query here. Media only screen, and again this one will be the maximum height of 1024 pixels. When it will be smaller than 1024, we earn the grid and make the grid template columns only on fraction. Let's save, and now they will appear after each other in a horizontal line. Actually, I think it's vertical. So in a vertical line. But there is one issue here. The text is too much big for this viewport, large viewport. But when it got smaller than this 1441 pixels, it become smaller because they are aligned in 3 rows, 3 columns in a single line. But again, when it got broke down after 1024 pixels, it looks kind of smaller. So what we can do is we can make the text size large again with the padding and other stuffs. So we can actually apply this media query for screen smaller than 1441 pixels but larger than 1024. So we can add another property here, and it will be minimum height, and minimum height of 1025 pixels. So these properties or these stylings will be only applied when the display size will be larger than 1025 pixels but smaller than 1441 pixels. So when the display size will be smaller than 1025 pixels, it will be go back to again the normal size we have applied here. Only at that time the grid template column will be on fraction. So there will be only one card in a single row. So now the text got bigger again, and it also added the padding and some other things. So it looks fine, but for a smaller size display like this one, I think it's again got distracted and it doesn't look good. So we can add another viewport here. So I'm just going to copy this one and paste it here. So in this case, the maximum height will be 425 pixels. 425 pixels, and it will be maximum height. So from now, let's target the container at first. Let's give the maximum height of 90%. Okay, it looks fine. After that, I'm just going to target the card here and make the padding 20 pixels and 10 pixels, so it will be reduced. Let's target the card body and let's make the padding to 7 pixels. Also, we need to make the text smaller a little bit, so let's target the card title and make the font size to 20 pixels, and also let's reduce the padding bottom to 7 pixels. After that, we can make the paragraph tag a little bit smaller. So card body, then the paragraph tag. Let's make the font size to 14 pixels. It looks better now. We also need to take care of this button here. It is too much big for a smaller display. So let's target it, read more. And I'm just going to reduce the padding to 15 pixels and 0. And also let's reduce the height to maybe 50%. Let's save, and it looks fine. We can also reduce the margin top to 20 pixels. Now this is everything we want to do. So it is totally responsive for every breakpoints and it looks great. So if you want to see the source code, I will add the link of the Codepen in the description below. And don't forget to follow me at the Codepen, because I will add more and more projects in the Codepen in the future. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up. It will really help me out. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next video.